Hey everyone, it's Alex here, and I just got back to Ho Chi Minh City from Dalat, which is a great little city, just 40 minutes flight from Ho Chi Minh City, and the round trip air flight was only about $70, so very cheap to get out there for a weekend. And I had a really great time. It's a beautiful little place. And since getting back, it got me thinking about how Vietnam is a really big country with over 100 million people. But when people think about teaching English in Vietnam, they only think of Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh City. And the thing is, there are lots of other cities in the country that you can teach English in, but most people just don't know about them. And I've noticed this from working at Ninja Teacher, where we help people find teaching English jobs throughout the country, that more and more jobs are appearing in these other cities, and we're actually placing people in different cities and not just the two big cities that people know about. So what I thought I'd do was, in this video, cover what some of these cities are, just tell you a little bit about where they're located, the different cities, the different options, what you might expect from going to one of these cities versus Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh City. Okay, so let's start off with northern Vietnam. Now, this is where the capital Hanoi is located, and Hanoi is a big city. It's got around 10 million population. I lived up there for about 8 months, and it is a great city. It's got a great culture to it. It's got a great expat community, and a lot of people really enjoy their time in Hanoi. There's a lot to do there, and it's also the location of one of our TESOL courses that you can go to get certified to teach English. So overall, it's a great spot, and there's lots of teaching opportunities in Hanoi. And I've got a lot of videos on this channel about living and teaching English in Hanoi. So I'll link to those below in the description, so you can go check them out, watch them in your own time, and learn a little bit more about Hanoi. But as for other cities in northern Vietnam, there are a lot of these provinces and cities around Hanoi that a lot of people live in. So what I'll do is I'll show you this list of different cities and different provinces, and you can see the populations, and you can see that there's enough people there that there'll be a demand for English education, and therefore foreign English teachers like yourselves. So what that means is any of those locations are going to have opportunities, jobs available for English teachers. Now, what can you expect for these kinds of jobs versus being in the big cities? Well, the salaries are going to be usually slightly lower than in the big cities. However, your living costs will also be lower. So there is a great opportunity to save a large amount of money on a monthly basis. I mean, I know people that save up to half their paychecks every month. So it can be a good opportunity because everything's really cheap out there. If you want to go into a more relaxed, smaller city and then maybe save a bit more money, or spend your time and money like traveling around and stuff like that, instead of doing the kind of big city stuff that could be a lot more expensive as well. It's also the case that there's going to be a smaller expat community. I mean, that makes sense. Smaller cities, smaller community of foreigners, and it could vary from city to city exactly how big that population is. But I know some people like living out in Halong, for example, that say that there's a small but nice community of other English teachers out there. So wherever you go, there's likely going to be some other English teachers or some other foreigners, because one of the things with smaller cities is it may be that people don't speak English as well as in the big cities. So it might be a little bit harder to get by in terms of that. But if you are going to learn the language, that helps a lot. If you do go out and look for people that do speak English, Vietnamese people, then of course you can meet people that do speak English. But just be aware that it might be a little bit harder to find English-speaking people in these smaller cities. Along with that, a little bit less Western, and I say like Western quote-unquote, just things that you'd be able to find maybe in Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh City, like big movie theaters. I mean, there's going to be movie theaters in most of the bigger cities on the list, but you're not going to be able to find something like a Starbucks maybe, or some kind of foreign food store where you could buy stuff from back home. It might be just harder to find those kinds of things. As for some of the locations in northern Vietnam, well, I've got to say northern Vietnam is beautiful. A couple of these provinces that you can teach in are near to some of the places I've traveled to before, such as Son Tay, which is close to Ba Vi National Park, And if you saw on my channel, I made a video of our motorbike trip to Baavi National Park. This is right next to it, and that is a beautiful, beautiful area. One of the most awesome motorbike trips I've ever done. As well as that, you've got places like Ningbing, again, another place that I went to on a motorbike, and just, it's beautiful out there. That's where the new King Kong movie was filmed, and a lot more people are aware of it now after that. But you get those amazing mountains coming out of the ground, and it's a small town, small city. So living out there, you're really going to get that small town experience, the local feel of Vietnam, but you're also going to be in this beautiful scenery. So if that sounds good to you, then maybe one of these smaller areas might be a good option. Then there's Central Vietnam, and Central Vietnam again is beautiful. I mean, so many places in Vietnam are just absolutely awesome in terms of scenery, stuff to see and do. And in Central Vietnam, you've got places like Vinh, Hue, and Da Nang, as well as a number of other smaller cities, but those are some of the well-known ones, and a lot of them are along the coast. So if you're a coastal type of person, you might be interested in some of those. Do bear in mind though that coastal cities can be more competitive for jobs. That's just the case. When it comes to finding a job, it might be a bit tougher. But again, if you can land a job in one of these places, there's just amazing beaches, mountains, these coastal roads that you can ride along on your motorbike. A lot of cool motorbiking options in Vietnam. If you don't ride a motorbike, that's fine too. And then of course there's Southern Vietnam, and that's where I am now, in Ho Chi Minh City, otherwise known as Saigon. A lot of Vietnamese people still call it Saigon. And out here in this city, I mean, it's a great city. This is where most of our students come out and take our TESOL course here in Ho Chi Minh City. There's a lot going on. It's very modern, very developed. But it is also very chaotic and kind of crazy. You know, it's got a lot of energy, but a lot of people find that a bit too much. So what are other options in Southern Vietnam? Well, you've got places like Dalat, where I just went for the weekend. Now, this is not necessarily going to be a place that has that many jobs, but if you go out there and search, you could potentially find a job in Dalat. There's also places like Vung Tau, which is a beachside city. And that's only about 2 hours or 3 hours maybe from Ho Chi Minh City, but it's really nice out there, so you could potentially go find a job out there, get a job in Vung Tau. And then of course there's the Mekong Delta, which has a huge population of people, and there's actually quite a lot of money in the Mekong Delta. So parents are wanting to send their kids to English centers, so there are quite a lot of English centers in that area as well. So there's jobs out there. And then, you know, in all the surrounding provinces, there's also a lot of opportunities. So if you want to get outside of the city, there's these cities around and about the big cities. So those are a few of the options out here in Vietnam for teaching English, some of the cities and provinces. If you do want some alternatives to Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City, there you go. Do some research, look into them a little bit more. And if you are interested in getting started teaching out in Vietnam, head over to ninjateacher.com and we can chat to you about options and how to get started. Make sure to subscribe to this channel to get more videos about teaching English in Asia and life abroad. And I'll see you in a new video. Leave a comment below if you have any questions, and I'll speak to you then. Peace.